Hey folks, I've got a very special video for you all, especially if you're a Conquest of Elysium fan, in fact particularly if you're a Conquest of Elysium fan, because this is my Conquest of Elysium tier list, Conquest of Elysium 5, and I've been meaning to make this for absolutely ages and ages. The problem is that there are so many character classes and the game kind of takes a while to play that it's really difficult to sort of get to know one long enough to really be able to tell whether it's any good or not. So it's kind of been really hard for me to tell which is the best. I don't think Conquest of Elysium really is the best kind of game for tier lists anyway. There are some factions that are clearly stronger than others, but it's not really a game that's played, you know, it's not like Dominions where I think, you know, you're playing to win. It's more of an explorative game. I kind of call it a strategic adventure game, and I think that gives you a clue on how to play it. You know, like often you don't really want to just race to victory. You just want to explore and find all the cool stuff that's going on in the world. But so take this with a massive grain of salt. It's just supposed to be fun, okay? And there are some of these classes that I really haven't played quite as much as the others, and you know, I just really, there's a few of them I just struggle with and I don't like that much, so you know, I kind of haven't got so far with them. There are a couple of others that I really do like, but I just can't get far because either I keep running into some Armageddon event like, you know, Inferno or Dwarf Queen or something, and I'll talk about that later. That's the one thing that I hate in this game. But other than that, like, I really I played most of them, okay? I've played all of them, but I've played most of them to completion at least a couple of times, and I like nearly all of them. It's just one. There's just one exception, and I really hate. But other than that, this is my favorite game. Pretty much, it's like one of my favorite games, and it's close to becoming my favorite game. So you know, I'm really passionate about this game. I really want to do this one justice. At the same time, I don't want to be going on and on and on. The last tier list video I did took like 2 hours, so I don't think I've got that much to say on this. So yeah, with that said, I should introduce the tiers. I've got a bit of a weird way of using tiers in this. It's kind of partly based on one that Lucid Tactics did or used to do with his Dominions thing. So if you see something in D tier, it generally means it's kind of like the bottom of the pile, but it's not necessarily like absolute crap. It's probably just because it's got a lot of problems, and the ones at the top tend to be character classes that are just really powerful and they don't really have any weaknesses. So yeah, S is like kind of no weaknesses, just overwhelmingly strong, probably a little bit too strong. A is, you know, they've got a few flaws, but otherwise they're just really strong. B is just a solid race with some flaws and some very, you know, some decent benefits. C will be a class that's not like absolute garbage, but it's kind of, you know, not quite as good as the others. Yeah, and then D, like I say, it's none of these are really terrible, by the way. There is not a single terrible class in this now. Conquest of Elysium 5 really polished up some of the ones that weren't doing so well. There's only a couple that really I'd probably class as D, that I'm aware of. And as we come through each of the classes, if there's one that I've not played a whole lot, I'm going to admit it, okay? I'll just tell you. And I'll be, you know, sometimes I'm just going to be theory crafting a little bit with it. But Conquest of Elysium's kind of fun. I just want this tier list to be fun, so don't take it too seriously. Okay, so without further ado, let's get on. Bakemono. This is one that I've played a few times. I like Bakemono. I think they've got an interesting mix of summonable units that are based on these kind of Japanese themed things. They get quite a lot of different weird spellcasters that you can get. They're a sacrifice nation, just like the Demonologist and which is the other one? And this guy here, the Priest King. And then there's another one too. Cultist, is it? I think High Cultist as well. So yeah, it's a sacrifice nation, but unlike the Demonologist, it's not one where you have a percent, you know, like a chance to win, you know, with this bar where you can put more. You can overload the sacrifices or underload them depending on how you're feeling, and then, you know, it rolls a dice to decide whether the summoned units are actually in your control or not. It's not like that. So their summoning is a little bit more safe, and they get a nice kind of mix of stuff. They've also got free spawn units. They were one of the earlier classes, I think, in Conquest of Elysium that had free spawn units. How do I find them on strength? So you've got a lot of Bakemono chaff. So they free spawn these little goblins, these kind of like Japanese themed goblins called Bakemono. And then they've got Oni and Dioni. Oni are like these big... you've got Orbakemono, which are like these big ogre-like creatures that are very hard-hitting, but kind of they don't have much armor. Then you've got Dioni, which are the sort of demonic samurai. They wear this sort of samurai armor, and they've got the big Nodachi, like double-handed sort of version of the katana, very big sword. They do a lot of damage, and they're quite well armored. Yeah, and they can summon all, like, a whole range of units. It's actually been a while since I've played them, so I can't quite remember all the stuff that they can get, but they can get things like Kappas and Tengus. They get flying stuff that can, do lightning attacks. The Kappas are kind of water creatures. They got loads of weird ones, and I think Bakemono is a really fun class to play if you want to kind of be surprised at how much content that Illwinter have put just into one class, because there's loads of different things that you can do with them. And you can get really creative, just like any of the ones, like pretty much like any of these character classes. You want to be kind of summoning lots of stuff and then kind of separating them out into armies that are good for certain tasks, because you get such a range of them. So the Bakemono sorcerer, I think it's blood magic that they do. I can't remember quite what their actual magic class is now, or sorry, what their magic spells are. I probably should bring this up. Just bear with me a minute and just see if I can. Sorry, I should have had this a little bit more prepared. What do I do with that document? Never mind. I'm just not going to worry about it. I've got a document with all the spells on here somewhere that a friend of mine made, but I can't really find it anymore. But anyway, yeah. I remember their spells being okay. I think they've got death sort of stuff, if I remember right. You guys, one of you will have to remind me, but I'm going to put these guys in B. I think the free spawn units are kind of cool. So you can have loads of these sort of chaffy goblins coming out, and you get more of them if you're... I'm trying to remember what the mechanic is for them exactly. They come out of mines anyway, and you can kind of create these mines and get more of them. So they create a nice front line. Yeah, so I think these are probably B. I don't remember what their magic are like particularly, but yeah, I remember thinking that it was, like, a reasonably strong nation, but their end game summons were a little bit underwhelming, I think. And yeah, they're more to do with summoning big armies full of these weird summoned units. So yeah, Bakemono is going to be a B. The next one is Barbarian, and Barbarian's one that I've really struggled to kind of get into. I think they're quite hard to play, I think, and the reason is because they've got very strong units, but they're kind of unarmored, at least at the start, and they're kind of hard to get going. I think you've got to be good at using cavalry and knowing how to form armies with cavalry properly, because they've got really good cav. But they, obviously they will charge off into battle and die. These guys, the barbarian units will charge off into battle and die quite early if you're not careful. They've got an interesting set of Amazon priestesses. So and they've also got this guy called the Inari. The Inari is like a spirit, and he calls the spirits of the dead. And this is kind of where these guys get a little bit deeper. They've also got the Amazons, and each of the different Amazon priestesses can start recruiting different types of Amazons. You've got the Onyx Amazons, which are sort of more heavily armored, and they've got the slow trait. So they kind of, I don't know, I don't really like stuff with slow, which is kind of why I don't really like these guys so much. The Hoboks, but yeah, so they've got these slow Amazons. They've got ones that are kind of better with poison. They've got the Jade Amazons. They've got the Garnet Amazons, which are... what are those ones like? I forget now. But basically, they've got these 4 types of Amazons, and they've got a decent variety of magic, and then they can summon these spirit ancestors as well. So you can get kind of spirit ancestor leaders who are also spellcasters, and they can summon in large amounts of these ghostly ethereal troops. They work a little bit like the cloud troops that you can get on the sky level. So they're ethereal units. Yeah, pretty good. The problem is I can never do well with this character. I'm actually going to put this one in D. I think that it might just be the way that I'm playing them, but I really struggle. They don't defend very well. They just charge into battle. They, you know, they start with a totem pole that kind of zaps, just like the Bakemono as well. They have these kind of like totem poles that zap spells at enemies. These ones are better, I think. These ones are kind of crap. So you haven't really got a very good defensive structure at the start of the game either. So, you know, if you're playing on a harder difficulty setting, I think the Barbarian is going to be really hard, and Wilder is going to be hard for the Barbarian as well. I don't know. I'm going to put it in D. I might change it to C later on. It's partly to do with my sort of, you know, maybe just because I'm just not very good with this one. Okay, I haven't really got much more to say. I've only played it a few times, and every time I try and play, I don't ever see the end game. I just think that, yeah, Amazons aren't, you know, the Amazons are interesting, but okay. So here's what I've missed. Right, the Amazon priestesses have got this tattoo mechanic, and so the Amazons, each of the different Amazons can be given tattoos, and the tattoos are a little bit like the bless mechanic of the Voice of El, or where is he? This guy here, the Scourge Lord. And so it gives you like a buff. So they've got all these kind of buff bonuses, and some of them can be like regeneration. So you can get like regenerating Amazons with more, like, loads of hit points. I think if you go down that way, they're actually a little bit stronger. The problem is that I think the reason why I'm tempted to stick these in D is, even though they've got a nice variety of magic, the magic doesn't go that deep from what I've seen, and their end game stuff is a bit underwhelming. So yeah, I like them. They're thematically really fun. And that's important in Conquest of Elysium. Like, when I was talking about doing a tier list of Conquest of Elysium, I think I was saying to people I might just do one on how fun they are to play rather than their power. And then people are like, oh, no, you've got to do it power, because that's, you know, that's what tier lists are about. And yeah, so if this is a power tier list, I think these are kind of D or C. I'm going to put them in D. But as far as fun is concerned, they are really fun. They're just like a bit of endgame bite. Baron. So the Baron is a class that was traditionally recommended to beginners, because the Baron has really strong economy and some interesting mechanics that help defending your territory a lot easier. So the Baron and some of his other characters, they can convert villages into maybe farms as well, but they convert them into, oh, that's right. Okay, so any settlement, basically, a gold producing settlement, you can upgrade so that they've got this kind of fortified, what are they called now, but you can raise levies as well, so you can get these kind of like units, and it's just like a one-time raise, so you get a handful of units that are defending these villages, and then you can actually turn them into these fortified settlements as well, which increases their gold output. So he's got quite a strong economy. He gets free spawn units, so every year he gets, because he's like a feudal lord, all the knights underneath him will send troops to the castle. So the Baron will end up with quite a lot of free spawn units, and there's some interesting ones as well. I won't spoil it too much, but, like, you know, for example, if you get an ancient forest, then you'll start getting unicorn riders, and unicorn riders are pretty good. You'll get knights, which are just excellent troops anyway. They've got like they're like cavalry. He can recruit cavalry, but you can also get these knights as well, and you get like one or two of them each time that you get a recruitment round. I think it's every year, so it's every, like, you know, every 4 turns or so, or however many turns it is, you'll end up getting like a load of kind of units that are pressed into feudal service. And yeah, the knights are very, very strong. So if you, like, the longer the game goes on, basically, the more of these really, really strong units you get. So the knight can be the Baron can be very aggressive. As a character himself, he's actually really good as well. Another reason why this guy's down here, by the way, I've just remembered, is because the leader himself he just charges into battle on the front line, because that's part of how the barbarians work. So until you've got him some magic items, he just dies really easily. The Baron's the other way around. The Baron's really strong. He's got this big sword, does a sweeping attack, I think, and he's strong. He's got good armor. I'd have said Baron before in Conquest of Elysium 4 would have been sort of like B or C, because he didn't really have much in the end game. So once some of the big magic came out, yeah, he was kind of, you know, things like when the Demonologist, the Necromancer and all that, they're summoning in these horrendous creatures from other planes. The Baron's like messing around with just some kind of crappy wizards that he's managed to get hold of. However, there is more to the Baron now, and I think Baron is actually A tier. I think, I don't know. I think depending on how you play it, I think it's A tier. And the reason why I'll say it's A tier is because Baron now gets much more. He's benefited greatly from Conquest of Elysium 5's upgraded, you know, the upgraded mechanics with wizards, so you can get way more access to wizards now, you know, different kinds of wizards, and some of them are very powerful. They're never quite as powerful as the most powerful ones in each class. So, you know, like if you upgrade a demonologist to the third, you know, to the level 3, I think they'll generally be a bit stronger than, you know, the level 3 things that you can get access to as the Baron. But the Baron just has such a huge variety, and if you can manage to take the Baron's castle as well, on if you're playing on Monarchy, then it upgrades him even further. So on Monarchy he's probably like S tier, but I think on every other, you know, society he's probably an A. I didn't really mention that, by the way. Some of them are good on certain societies, and some of them are bad on, you know, on others. And I'll talk about those as well as I remember them. But I think Baron, particularly on, you know, if you're playing on Monarchy, is very, very strong. If you're playing on, you know, I tend to play on Empire. Most of these were tested on Empire, by the way. I've tested it on Empire with a large map setting, so, and then usually with 8 opponents. Oh, sorry, 7 opponents. So it was eight of us all together in the game. Yeah, so Baron's got some more interesting stuff. He's got he's got these priests that can go around, and they've got like blessing kind of magic, which helps. The Baron also gets access to better sort of standard troops, so you can immediately recruit things like pikemen and Zweihanders. So they've got these big swinging swords like he has. You know, he gets everything else, you know, like crossbows and bows and spearmen. He gets a big range of stuff. He gets cavalry. So he's like the king of the, you know, the sort of standard armies. And once you've got a few really powerful wizards behind them, you know, like if you can get, you know, a pyromancer and, you know, a bunch of other wizards. Actually, the Baron's armies are incredibly strong. So yeah, he's going in A, bordering S. He's like really, really good. Next one is Burgermeister. So the Hoburgs are an interesting like group. They're slow. They've got the slow characteristics, so they play quite slowly, but you get lots of them. So for 50 gold, you get like 15 Hoburg militia or 15 Hoburg slingers. That doesn't sound great. And they're not the strongest fighters, in all honesty, but you get a lot of them. And once the magic starts coming out and they start getting buffed up, and they've got some nice buffing magic, then yeah, they actually become quite powerful. They've got some interesting abilities with their spell users. They've got a horticulturalist. Which one is that? I think the horticulturalist has, what's their economy? Yeah, their economy is similar to the Barons. They can create these fortified Hoburg things. So they've got the same mechanic that the Barons got, where you can kind of upgrade your towns into these fortified Hoburg places, and they start making more money. They've got the horticulturalist, which is one type of wizard which does buffing magic, if I remember right. And then they've got there's another one as well that kind of creates like clockwork, you know, like clockwork automatons. And I can't remember what that character's called now, or that mage is called, but basically he's pretty good. You can create these like clockwork horrors that are unaffected by magic. The other thing is about the Hoburgs in general, and this applies to Margraf as well, is that they've got really high magic resistance. They've got a magic resistance of 6, even the most bad, you know, the worst units, which is twice as much as most humans, I think, and, you know, 3 times as much as most animals. So they're quite hard to kill with magic. So battlefield wipe spells don't do less to them. So, you know, when you get into the late game, you've got kind of the warlock just frying everything, you know, like the whole battlefield with big spells, and Hoburgs are less affected by that. It does kind of help to counter the fact they've got quite low hit points. But then they can, they can recruit like these frontline troops, these frontline Hoburg troops that are wearing armor. They've actually become quite strong. Like, these are good. These are. I think these are like. I'm going to put them in B tier. I'm not the most familiar with the Hoburgs, with the Burgermeister, but I think it's like B. I'm going to say B. I think that they are slow, and against certain Armageddon threats, they're really bad because you need to be fast to deal with them, and Hoburgs aren't that fast. But if you play a slow style, you can turtle up with them really well. All of your settlements can be filled with these like chaff unit Hoburgs. So yeah, I think that. Yeah, I'm going to say B. They lack some of the late game stuff that some of the other units have access to. I don't really remember what they get, but they get some cool stuff like tree men. So the horticulturalist can summon these like really big, strong tree units that are really quite devastating. Yeah, so yeah, I'm going to put them in B. Okay, I'm just going to turn this music down a little bit. By the way, the music here is by Adrian von Ziegler, and he's the guy who did the music to the original Conquest of Elysium. I'm just going to turn this down a little bit because it's just booming in my ears. There we are. So yeah, thank you to Adrian. I'm going to put a credit link to his music. He lets people use it if they credit him. So, and I love his music. It's really cool. All right, the next one is Cloudlord. Cloudlord is another character class that I've really struggled to get into. I find it, I don't know, I find Cloudlord difficult to use. You've got to play in a raiding style. These are kind of based on Calum, you know, from Dominions. So they've got these winged troops. They all fly. You've got some that have got this ice armor, and they've got these cool magic weapons. Is it magic weapons? Or they've got these cool like weapons, basically. They have air magic. They can summon like air elementals and kind of like great hawks and things like these great big birds, like rock type stuff. Again, they're one that I've not really got that far into. I think they're quite weak from what I've played. I struggle with them. I'm going to put them in C. Their ability to be able to fly into the clouds makes them strategically very, very strong. So if you're playing, you know, you can play raiding with those guys a lot. And raiding is quite important in Conquest of Elysium. You know, being able to... What I mean by that is kind of moving in when you're not strong enough to actually fight an army, but like moving behind them and taking the stuff that they've taken. These guys are the masters of this, so they're kind of like piratey sort of raiders. They can sneak attack you. When you're playing against them, it can be dead annoying because they can just drop down out of the sky anywhere and then just take your stuff from you, and it's just harder to see them coming. So yeah, I'm going to put them in C. Like their magic is pretty good. Like the lightning, you know, the air magic is pretty good. I just never really got that far with them, and I think part of the reason is because they're a little bit weak. Are they as weak as these guys? I don't know. They're kind of similar. I suspect, right, both of these are probably... I'm just not playing them right. I think if these guys, for example, if you learn how to play with them and get those spirit units up, then you could really... You know, you could probably play... They might go up to a C tier or something. Yeah, I might put them up to C. I think these guys are kind of roughly equivalent. I struggle with them about the same, basically. Okay. There's so much more to say about these. I don't know. I think it's fun to be able to start in the cloud layer. You can go and explore a whole layer. And the clouds have got some quite tough enemies in them as well. So it's not a cakewalk conquering the clouds. You could potentially just stay in the clouds and, you know, try and conquer that area and then come down into Elysium and sort of pick the bones of what's left from the other guys fighting. I think they're quite good fun if you're playing them in multiplayer as well, because having one player who can fly is really quite advantageous. So yeah, they're really good fun. You should try them. These are one of the ones that were added in Conquest of Elysium 5, and I'm still not that used to them. They got a little bit less content, I think, than the others. I think some of the, you know, the ones that were added in Conquest of Elysium 5, like Monkey Maharaja came recently. Sorry, Raksharaja, Monkey Maharaja. They've got a little bit less content in them, some of them, maybe, than some of the you know, the older ones. But yeah, play them. They're good fun. Just not very strong. Demonologist. I think Demonologist is either S or A. They've got this mechanic. So okay, Demonologist is it's a summoning unit, and your economy is like the sacrifice economy. So you need to take lots of towns, and then you use the sacrifices to summon in demons, basically. The demon units themselves are really powerful. Even the really basic imps. There are a couple of ones that seem weak, like, you know, the little tiny flying imps, but actually they've all got their purpose. Like, they're really good in sieges. They just fly straight over the walls and attack archers and tie them up while the rest of your troops are coming in. Even the basic level 1 imp summoning spell will summon stuff that can cast like level 1 magic. So quite early on, if you can get a bit of an economy going, they're kind of slow to start, like a lot of the magic using classes. You know, well, they're all magic using, but you know, like some of the, like, you know, Illusionist, which is the other one I would put in that category, Necromancer, you know, so, I think some of those they can slow, Warlock as well. They can start a little bit slow and weak, but once they get going, they are incredibly powerful. The endgame summons are really, really strong, and you know, you're going to be firing loads of fire. They've got lots of fire magic, lots of magic where, you know, you're causing like debuffs to enemies. I think they've got, is it pain, things like that. They've got direct damage spells. They're very, very, very powerful with magic, and you just get this very quickly. You get this kind of ranks and ranks of these demons, and all of the demons are going to be throwing different kinds of spells. So you've got disease demons firing disease spells. You've got fire demons. You've got the ones from Cultist, the ice version of like the icy realm in Hell or in Inferno. So you've got ice demons, ice devils, and some of them you can finally get these kind of demon lords, which you pull in from the the various parts of Inferno, and you'll actually take them directly from there, and they are really, really strong. Like I think if you've watched my Let's Plays, you'll see that once you've got one of those endgame guys, you can generally just roll through the enemies pretty fast. I'm tempted to put them in S tier because I think they're very, very, very powerful once they get going. The only thing is that they are a little bit weak in the early game, but not so they're not as weak as some of the others. So yeah, I'm going to put it for S tier for the time being. I might come up with another one later that's actually way stronger, and then if that's the case, then I might move him down. But I think he's S. Just because those endgame summons and the fact that pretty much at every tier of magic you're going to get something really good. Alright. Druid. I think this one was considered to be kind of bad, like in Conquest of Elysium 4. I think he's had more stuff added to him. I liked Druid and Dryad Queen are quite similar character classes in the sense that they both use fungus from the forests, just like the witch as well. But he summons animals. Now, some of the animals that you get later on are really, really good, but for the most part, the animals you get are kind of not that good. So he basically comes in and throws around lots and lots of animals. Problem is with animals, they're not so good against certain magic. Like they've got really low magic resistance, but you can get a lot of them. So you're throwing a lot of animals. His spells are quite strong. He's got like charm animal spells, so he can walk in and just kind of like take animals from other people. I know the Dryad Queen can do that too. They've got similar kind of magic. He's got some interesting stuff with protecting the forests and the ancient forests that you get. I think some of the rituals for these guys are kind of similar in that you have to be in an ancient forest to do it. I like this guy to play. How strong is he though? When I was playing him, I never thought he was particularly powerful. I think now with the addition of the primal plane that they've added, I think that he's got even more stuff. I've got to be honest, I don't remember playing this guy in Conquest of Elysium 5, so I don't know if he's had more stuff. At least to the best of my knowledge, I think he's a C. I think the animal summons that you get can be quite good, but I think that yeah, he's still a little weak. Maybe you can summon some cool stuff though, like like giant moose, like these ancient giant moose, and they're huge. They're just like huge monsters. So and obviously any economy where you're using fungus is quite strong because there's always loads of trees. All of the societies pretty much have got a lot of forest, if I remember right, and particularly in like the very early ones. I forget the Dark Ages, is it? He's kind of like B or A then, because he's just got such a strong economy. I'm going to put him in C. Dryad Queen. I think Dryad Queen is better. I think Dryad Queen is very similar to the Druid. It's kind of a nature themed one. You're wanting to take forests, ancient forests, enchanted forests, and swamps, and you're getting fungus from them or whatever. I can't remember if it's fungus, but their resource comes from the trees. But she gets more interesting units. You get things like minotaurs, you get centaurs. This is kind of like based on Pangaea from Dominions. She's also got some cool spells. Like they've got charm spells, and charm's great. Like if you come across the Troll King earlier in the game, right, and the Dryad Queen goes up to him and just goes charm, because he's got such low magic resistance, all of a sudden this guy's like, bonk, he's on your side. Then you can go up to other trolls and just go, bonk, they're on your side too. I can't remember if this guy can also do the same, but Dryad Queen particularly, the Dryad units have got charm, and charm's super strong. And she's naked as well, and that's always great. She's like bare naked ladies with centaur legs running around. I had one of the best games of Conquest of Elysium I've ever playing with her. When I was playing against this one here, the High Priestess, and it was on the early ages, it was in the Dark Age. The High Priestess was kind of going through all the settlements, and she was just eating them alive, like doing the blood feast and sacrifices to Baal, and summoning all these Anakites and these great massive giants. And I was kind of stuck in the forests, and she was just going through and just destroying all the villages, and I was just being pushed back into this kind of forest realm, and it really felt like this kind of Tolkien-esque thing where the nature spirits were being pushed further and further back into their territory, and eventually we were just strong enough to be able to come out and start taking her stuff. But by the time we had, like, Elysium was a wasteland. She'd just eaten all the villages. It was such an amazing game, and I can't even remember whether I won it or not. I think I did in the end. I think I did win that game, but it was just so much fun. And this is just an example of what I'm talking about. Like, Conquest of Elysium is such a great kind of storytelling adventure game as much as it is a strategy game, and it's kind of better than that. You know, it's better as a storytelling game really than it is a strategy game in some respects. Yeah, so they've got really, really good magic. They've got really interesting units like the Minotaurs. You can do cool stuff, like if you can get some magic equipment on the Minotaur Lords, they turn into sort of super combatants a little bit. You know, if you can bump their armor up and then give them some regeneration items and stuff, you can throw those guys into army, you know, into smaller armies, and they'll just stomp their way through. So great stuff. All right, so I love Conquest of Elysium 5. I love Conquest of Elysium in general. I think there's one little stain on this game, and that's this thing, right? I hate the dwarves in this game. At first it was kind of like a joke, like, you know, like Daz Tactic hates halflings. Like, it was like that, but no, it's not a joke anymore. I really just hate this class. I don't like playing against it. I can't, for example, Enchanter's coming up next. I'll kind of talk about this one too, but I was just playing an Enchanter game, trying to get used to this, and every single time I play Enchanter, I come up against the goddamn bloody Dwarf Queen. And this is like the most annoying thing. Like, I refuse to mod Conquest of Elysium. You do not need to mod this game. Anybody tells you do, they're wrong. It's perfect as it is. However, there's one thing that I might do, and that's just mod this damn character class out, because I can't stand it. They seem to, like, even on the lowest difficulty settings, she can spawn out. Let me tell you what it does, okay? So, it's not that strong. It is a D tier class, but it's also just bloody annoying when the computer controls them. So she's like an egg laying machine. She lays free spawn dwarves, and then she has these things called Queen's Counselors. The Queen's Counselors are these guys that go out and they look for the mines. They take the mines and then they make more of these. They're basically like Conquest of Elysium cancer. They just free spawn units. Dwarves are actually really strong, so if you let them go for too long, they will start fielding these armies of armor 3, you know, fire resistant bloody dwarves. They're incredibly difficult to deal with if you leave them too long. But the most, I don't mind that. What I really, really object to is the amount of Queen's Counselors you can pump out. So if you're playing a class that isn't able to get like multiple armies out quickly, like for example Enchanter or Illusionist, or, you know, a Warlock, or this guy, Demonologist, this can get out of control. Like, this is the only one of the endgame scenarios that I will consider just rage quitting if I see. And it's not even an endgame scenario, it's just a player character class. But I consider it's, if I see the Inferno invasion coming, then I'll be like, you know, I probably lost the game, but at least it'll be fun trying to figure it out, right? Or the Ant invasion, which is another one that is really kind of annoying, because you've got to deal with these hives full of ants and they just spawn more hives. This is like this is Ant-Apocalypse, except more like, but just even more annoying. It's even more annoying because they home in on your mines. I think this character class is designed to kill them, but even this guy struggles against them. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. What's she got? Different types of dwarves. You can level the dwarves up with different types of armor. You know, some that will deal with different types of elements. They don't really have very strong mages. They've got these runesmiths that they've added, but they're not that good. If I remember right. I don't know. I had more fun playing them than I do playing against them. I hate them playing against them. And it's really rare for me to say that, because I'm usually quite immune to the things that annoy players in games. Like, I don't mind losing your territory constantly to you know, to wildlife. I don't mind occasionally losing because I forgot to defend something, and, you know, a deer walks into my settlement and ends the game. I just don't care about that. It doesn't bother me. I don't mind that the game sometimes ends prematurely because, you know, one of those things happened to one of the last AI players. It doesn't bother me. But this thing damn bothers me. Having to chase down the Queen's Counselors, and she'll spit out, like, they just seem to be able to pump out like 20 a turn. Well, it's not that, I'm exaggerating, but like 3 or 4 a turn. So you can send out multiple armies and kill these things as they're going out to try and find more places to spawn more Dwalas, Dwarf Queens. But every time you kill one, another one comes, and the longer you leave them, the bigger their guards that they've got with them. So eventually you'll get, you know, coming up against Dwarf Warriors, which have got like armor 3, armor 2 or armor 3. these big axes, they're just actually quite hard to kill. So certain character classes are really going to struggle against it, and I just hate it. I don't know why. I find it's just really irritating. Like every turn you're killing like 4 or 5 of these stupid Dwarf Queen counselors, and then more just come. And you know, if you allow her to take more than a couple of, you know, the home base is also guarded, and she'll build a load of ballistas. And I'm not talking about 10, I'm talking about 30. It's like 20 or 30 if you leave it too long. So unless you've got an army that is kind of pierce resistant and doesn't mind siege equipment, and it's not just like siege engines where they fire like 6, you know, like the catapults where they fire 6 catapult boulders out and kill 6 of your units, and then, you know, they're done for the game. No, they keep firing. So they not only attack at the beginning, but they then keep firing each turn as you go in. So they've got these magic gates which are like really hard to penetrate, and then they've got really good fortifications. So killing the Dwarf Queen is actually really hard. It's not a trivial task. Certain character classes are better at it than others, but like the Dwarf Queen is just a ball ache. Like when I see this, I consider restarting, because I try to play it out every single time, because I refuse to rage quit. You know, I refuse to kind of to be a slave to the RNG, and I like a challenge, but this is like even more so than Inferno or the Hades statue or whatever, you know, the end game stuff. I really can't stand this. It's just like whack-a-mole, constant whack-a-mole. And Conquest of Elysium is bad for whack-a-mole. So if you are somebody who finds, you know, certain elements of Conquest of Elysium frustrating, you know, like dealing with wildlife, this is going to drive you bonkers. I hate it. It's like, to play, it's kind of like C tier, but I'm just putting it in D tier anyway. She's not very good. She's not very strong as a player character class. She's just bloody annoying. They're just like slow creeping turtle nation, you know, with these like endless free spawn units. Ugh, get in the bin. Right, Enchanter. This guy is B, I think. So Enchanter is interesting. He uses gold and iron. And he can get a really strong economy, because you can build these kind of dancing tools in all your settlements to increase the gold and mining income. And you can put like 3 of them in each one, I think, 2 or 3. So you can, like, for every mine that you've got, you can get like, you know, if you've got a coal mine that just gives you 1 metal, you get about 3 or 4 metal out of it. I might be getting that wrong, but I think you can at least get 2 or 3 extra metal out of it. So you can get a really strong economy, but he kind of needs it. He also eats trees, so you can create golems, like wood golems, and that will eat the tree. You'll basically eat a forest square and get a golem out of it. They can't heal, but they're really quite strong. They're quite hard to kill. You can eat the mines. So the one way to defeat the Dvala is to eat all the mines, because she'll just keep sending waves and waves of troops at the mines in order to take them. But if you swallow the mines and turn them into abandoned mines, then she gets less out of it. So, and you know, you get a big iron golem out of it or whatever. So this guy is like a good counter for her. The problem is that he takes a while to get going, and the dwarves are quite good at killing his golems because they've got like arbalists. So they have these like really strong super crossbows that do tons of damage. So the dwarf arbalists can, you know, they can take down even the iron golems if they hit them enough. So yeah, I hate it. Anyway, I think he's hard to get going, and the dancing tools, unless you protect them well, they tend to get, you know, they tend to get raided out by natives. So yeah, I think this one is, I'm going to put it in B. If you can get like a whole row of iron golems up though, wow, they're really, really strong. The iron golem's great as well. They breathe poison, and he's got some cool spells. They are quite good at buffing, you know, like standard units as well, because they've got things, they can make them stronger. They've got you know, spells that give them better armor. So actually he can make mundane units very, very powerful as well, like kind of, you know, so almost so they can rival like the Baron. So I think that he's a good character class. I think that he just suffers a couple of things. A little bit slow to get going. He eats his own resources, because, you know, for the best units you have to kill the mines, a little bit like the high priestess. And yeah, so you're kind of sacrificing your own economy in order to build the best units. So if you do suffer a big defeat after you've eaten a load of your own mines, it can be a bit of a problem. But yeah, good spellcaster though, and interesting to play because it's mostly about buffs and these big wall, you know, these big golems. And there's more to it as well. You can kind of create these loads and loads of animated bows and animated swords and these kind of like animated suits of armor. It's really fun. If you've got a couple of apprentices that have got the animate bow, for example, you can just sit them there, put the auto cast on, the auto rituals function, and then they'll just spit out these guys every turn. So you can end up with like whole armies full of these animated bows. They've only got 1 hit point, but just do tons of damage. So yeah, really good fun to play, and yeah, good counter for the Dwarf Cancer. Okay, next we've got High Cultist. And have a drink because I'm making my throat sore with all this talking. The High Cultist is S tier. Every level of High Cultist is really, really strong. I don't play it that often because every time I play it, it's just so easy. I think that High Cultist is probably even stronger than this dude. I think, like, because the Demonologist is a little bit slow to get going. High Cultist, however, is like, you know, a raging express train. Scales really hard. So yeah, you're another sacrifice based. I can't remember if the sacrifice are like his or whether they're more like the Bakemono. I have a feeling that they're static, so you don't need to put more sacrifices in to get the better stuff. Oh no, actually, I think they are actually. I think there is a sliding scale of because I think they are. He summons stuff from Void, and anybody who's ever been to Void or seen the stuff that comes from Void will know how strong it is. He's got spells that cause confusion and insanity and all sorts of things like that. And he can charm people. He's basically got one of the best spell sets in the game, and the different kinds of things that you can summon have also got really strong spells. And then just being able to summon stuff from the Void is just ridiculous anyway. You know, you can quite easily lose control out of some of them, but they've got amphibious stuff as well, if I remember right, and you get free spawn units like these kind of weird fishmen thing that come in the coastal towns. Coastal towns and ports are really strong to them. They've got certain rituals I think that they might be able to do in them. Yeah, they're really good. Basically, they're really, really good. I remember the last time I played them just thinking, boy, these are too strong. Like S tier without a doubt. Like definitely one of the strongest classes in the game. Okay, next we've got High Priestess. The High Priestess is a priestess of Baal, and she's got a really, really interesting mechanic. This is why, by the way, Conquest of Elysium 5 has the best asymmetry in any 4X-like game, apart from maybe Dominions. While they share the same kind of abilities, the same core mechanics, they just play and approach the game so differently without like locking you out of certain things, like other kind of asymmetry focused games like Endless games and all that do. They're kind of like what I call low budget asymmetry games, whereas this is like high quality, magnificently well game design. This is magnificent game design, and she's a perfect example, right? As I alluded to when I was talking about the Dryad Queen, the High Priestess is able to eat villagers. So you have villages and settlements, and the bigger the village, when you sacrifice it, you basically put them all to the sword, like everybody there. These are not like slowly collecting sacrifices like these two, where they're just kind of grabbing sacrifices, and they're like virgins, maidens that you're sacrificing here and there. No, she puts the entire village to the sword, and like her giants eat them. So and then they summon these they're kind of like Judaic, Old Testament style creatures like Anakim, Rephites. I can't remember all the different types, but there's all these different kinds of giants of increasing size, of increasing stature, and the very, very end game ones that you get are really, really powerful. Eventually she can, once she's got to the very highest level, she can summon Baal, and Baal is just this demon, like this god, sorry. So you summon a god, and the god is incredibly powerful. So if you can get her to that point and you summon Baal, and you got these like flesh-eating giants, yeah, she's very good. I think she's probably A tier. The problem is there's a bit of a trick to using her, because to get her best units, you have to kill her. You have to destroy her own economy. So there's a little bit of a knack in figuring out when you are kind of strong enough to be able to go for the end game, because if you eat a lot of your economy while your enemies are quite strong, and then you lose a big battle and you lose all your giants that you've just destroyed all your economy creating, then you're in big trouble. So they out of all of the races, they are the most flimsy if you have a bad battle, I think, because they if you want to replenish those Anakites that you've just lost, well, then you've got to go and eat another 4 gold like a level, another city. You've got to go into level it, got to go and sacrifice in another city, and there's not that many of them. So in like in monarchy or in the empire society setting, she's actually quite good. She's also quite good in the agricultural age, but in the early ages she's not going to be very strong. And in the fallen empire, when there's kind of like less anywhere there's less population centers, basically she's going to really struggle. But yeah, other than that, very, very, very fun to use, very thematic. There's all these kind of yeah, like kind of Judaic history sort of themed units. Very, very fun to use. She can be very strong. She's one of those that when you see her in a game, a bit like the Dwarf Queen, you know that you've got to get rid of her quick. But this is just annoying to play against, whereas she's really fun because she just kind of brings seeds. By the way, just to go back to this, not everybody might hate this as much as I do. The reason why I hate it is just because it's just like stomping on ants, and the ants just spawn these endless things. This is a threat that you've got to deal with quick, but it actually creates an interesting story, whereas this is just kind of chasing after endless units. Okay, Illusionist. Where's this one to go? S tier. I had to play this one through properly for the first time the other day, and previously I struggled with it, and I'd put it in like C or something. I'd have been like, yeah, this one I can see the potential, but it's really, really quite hard to get going. No, I was wrong. This is S tier stuff, right? So the Illusionist and the Illusionist apprentices, you can buy these mirrors. The mirrors are really cheap. They cost like 10 gold for the small ones. Each mirror you can store in spells for a negligible amount of gold. Oh no, sorry, for gems. They're a gem income, this one. And they don't need any particular type of gem. They just take all gems to be the same. So any gem mines that you find are going to help. So if you've got enough, providing you've got enough gems, right, this is like super strong. The only time that you might struggle is if there's hardly any mines. I think in that case there might be an argument to say that they're A tier. Like again, all of these, right? If you're playing them on a map where they just don't have their resource, like on these guys, all three of them, these two, sorry, and her, they're all going to be bad in Dark Ages where there's just less settlements, and then then things like Bakemono, free spawn nations are going to be better. Dryad Queen and Druid are going to be very strong. Dwarf's just kind of like annoying on everyone, but she's probably a little bit stronger in the early age because I think there's more kind of like mines, if I remember right, in the Dark Ages. So you often get a lot of dwarves anyway. But yeah, but anyway, so they can store spells. Now that would be good if it wasn't for the fact that the Illusionist spell roster is just super strong. They're not very good against anything that's not living, right? So they're not going to be any good against these guys because the golems are just not going to be affected by their fear and confusion and what else have they got? Sleep spells. But sleep, confusion and fear are like three of the strongest spells in the game, and these guys get ready access to them, and then they can store them into the mirrors. So if you've got a whole line of mirrors and then each one of those is casting a fear or charm spell, a confusion spell every turn, you're starting to see what I'm talking about. This is why they're strong. Not only that, but they can store phantasmal images. They've got phantasms, and then they've got illusions. The illusions are just one-hit wonders. It will spam out like these ghostly troops and ghostly animals and things, and they'll charge forwards. They'll do some damage, but if they take a single hit, they'll die. So they die under withering archer fire. If you've got a large amount of units like Hoboks or something, just won't be affected by them because they've just got so many, and even Hoboks have got more armor than a one hit point illusion. So they're a bit of a trick at the start. However, they are effective to bolster your initial troops. But when you get to level 2 and 3, so the Illusionist and the Grand Illusionist, whatever he's called, and you can start building these gold, silver and gold mirrors. Those things can contain phantasms, and phantasms are like illusions. So you can have this mirror that's spitting out like phantasms every turn, and the phantasms can be like troops, pikemen, they can be giant moose. But the thing is, these ones don't have 1 hit points. These have got the full hit points, so they're just spawning units, and they die after the battle. But if you've got a whole row of these things, and you might have one of these mirrors might spit 100 of these out in a battle. So all of a sudden you've just spawned 100 like standard units that are not living, They're not affected by any fear spells or anything like that themselves. They are just these kind of enchanted units. It's so strong. And those things aren't going to be worried about, you know, you could then go up against units like undead, or you know, the golems that these guys come up, because you're no longer relying just on your fear and, you know, this crazy power magic that you've got. You're also you've just creating hordes and hordes of these tangible illusions. It's just mad. He's also got some cool stuff with being able to sort of teleport his tower around. They can transport themselves between mirrors. So if you put a mirror in a location and you need to make a sharp exit, well, you can just teleport into the mirror. So they've got amazing maneuverability. Yeah, this guy's S tier. He's up there with Illusionist. Sorry, with the High Cultist and the Demonologist, without a doubt. He's mega powerful. I think this guy is a lot of people's favourites, and I'm starting to see why now. I think he's so fun to use, but I think a little bit of a slow start. And you can be killed off quite quick if you're not careful, if you don't know how to use him. But yeah, I think if you know how to use him, and you're like this dude as well, if you're willing to sit around and nurture your economy for a little while before you go out, which is quite, you know, important with some factions in Conquest of Elysium, then, you know, you're going to be unstoppable by the end game. I think there are certain other character classes that he doesn't do so well against, like this guy and you know, Necromancer and that, but for the most part he's really strong. Okay, next one is one that was added in Conquest of Elysium 5, which is the Kobold King. Kobold King, I think, is C or B. By the way, just because this is a power ranking does not mean this is not, you know, the ones at the bottom are not fun, apart from this thing. Yeah, I don't mind playing Dwarf Queen, I just hate playing against her. But the Kobold King he is also free spawn, and he also spits out lots and lots of units. Kind of like this, and they also seek out. They're very much like the dwarf, in that the Dwarf Queen in that they seek out, you know, layers. They want to go and create more kobold layers by seeking out the mines. They're just way less annoying. I don't know why. For a start, they're squishier units. They don't seem to send out quite as many as the dwarf. The dwarf is just endless amounts. Like one Dwarf seems to be able to spit out, like, you know, a Queen's Counselor every single turn, and like a load of chaff units. So like, by turn 50, you're going to have, you know, 6 of these things, and then each one of those is spitting out, you know, same amount, and it's just like a plague. Where these guys don't seem to do quite so well. I think that they are really cool though. You've got 5 different colours of kobolds, I think. You've got red, or is it 6? You've got red, green, blue, white, black. Yeah, I think there's 5. And they all do different things. Like, some of them got wings, some of them are stealthy, some of them are stealthy and forest but got poison, some of them are fireproof, fire resistant. The blue ones are kind of ice resistant. They got snow move. Oh, that's another thing about these guys. These have got like mountain moves, so they're really hard. You know, when I was saying, like, you know, slow units are kind of difficult, because if you come up against Dwarf Queen, the dwarves have got mountain move as well, so they can escape across the mountains where your units can't. So you're stuck there for 3 turns trying to chase these buggers down, and things like, you know, the Hoboks ain't got a hope. But the kobolds, they've got some interesting tricks, because yeah, they can move. Like, they've got snow move, they can fly, and then they've got this weird tiered system. So the Kobold Shaman, which are the female kobolds, when they level up, they get, like, they open up a whole new tier of kobolds that come. So the free spawn that you get from the kobold hatcheries increase. You get more, and you get better ones. And then you get kobold sorcerers, and the sorcerers bring in a whole new range of things. Once you've got, like, kobold sorcerers, you start getting a different kind of kobold coming in. So they've got, it's weird, like, every time you think you've seen all the stuff that the Kobold King's got, actually another layer kind of peels back. The onion layer peels back, and there's a whole new set of stuff that you've just not seen. So they've got a lot of content, and they've got a tool for every job. They've got access to dragons as well, so you can, instead of putting a new kobold hatchery up, you can actually you can get a dragon to go there, and then the dragon's like a stupid unit, and that's a technical thing, by the way, in Conquest of Elysium. Stupid means that you can't control them, they're controlled by the AI, but the dragon will then periodically fly out and just eat a city. It will just attack a town and you know, clear it, or it'll attack an enemy HQ and just clear it out, and then fly back to the hatchery, and you can get different levels of dragons. So they've got quite a lot of gameplay in them. they just don't. Again, they don't have any really strong end game stuff. They have a lot of different magic kind of class. You know, they've got access to quite a lot of different kinds of magic, so they're very versatile, but they lack some of the end game punch. You know, they don't have like stupidly overwhelmingly powerful stuff like the phantasms that these guys have got, or the, you know, the mirrors that spit out tons of spells. You know, so you can essentially have like a whole army full of spellcasters. It's just... Oh, there's another thing, right? There's another really broken mechanic in this guy, the Illusionist. The Illusionist can create this kind of simulacra. So you can take your level 3 Illusionist, which is already like one of the strongest magicians in the game, and then just create a copy of it for like 60 gems. So like you just duplicate. Oh, by the way, he can't. The duplicate can't do any rituals, so he then can't cast more simulacras, because that would just, you know, again, that'd be like Dwarf Queen levels of stupidity. But like that one, it will have all the battle spells and all the yeah, like basically all the battle spells. So you can just create level 3 battle mages. And by the way, level 3 battle, this guy can cast a spell that puts the whole battlefield to sleep. Like every single enemy just straight to sleep. So you can, every turn, if you've got a big gem income, you can just bash out another level 3 mage. So you can have like, you can't just do it. I thought you could just do it once. No, you can keep doing it. So like the kobolds don't have any like overwhelming, mad, broken like stuff like that. I say broken, it's just super overpowered. And this is not supposed to be a balanced game, and I love it for that reason. But yeah, they kind of lack really, really strong spells in the end game. So I'm going to put them in C. Margraf is, I'm going to admit to you, I'm not that familiar with Margraf. I'm going to put it in B. The reason being is because Margraf's like the Necromancer, except, so he's a you know, a Necromancer version of the Hoboks. So they've got the slow trait, which means they're slow, which is kind of annoying. The undead stuff can be slow as well. But using Solus is a little bit less annoying than with the Necromancer, I think, with the Hoboks, because you're already speed 2. You know, you've only got 2 action points. He's got they've got access to similar spells. There are some mechanics that kind of differentiate the two. He's got different things like, so the Necromancer can become a you can become like a lich, or yeah, you can be twice born, so you can turn into a wight or a ghost. And I don't think he has the same twice born stuff. I think he could become a vampire, so that's kind of what you're trying to get. You want to turn into a vampire with this guy, whereas this guy's more about turning into a leash. But you still have the mechanic where you have insanity, so you don't want to be casting. You want the Necromance, which are the Hobok versions of the Necromancer's Apprentice. You want those guys to be raising the dead for you. But they've got their own flavour of necromancy, basically. And I'll be honest, I haven't seen all the end game stuff. I'm tempted to say, though, they're probably A tier, because the necromancy is just really powerful. You know, probably giving you a bit of a hint as to where this guy's going to be as well. I'm going to put him in A, though, just because he's got the slower stuff, and I'm just not that familiar with him. And he never seems to do that well in, like, as the AI, whereas the necromancer can really, really, like, just crushes stuff. So I'm going to put him in A. I think he's very powerful. I just think he's got the slow trait's a bit annoying, and I think Hoboks are kind of chaff units with some better stuff. They've got the Hogmeisters, these guys, so they've got like the pig knights as well, if I remember right. Just like the Burgermeisters, they got their own kind of like warthog cavalry or wild boar cavalry or whatever they are. But yeah, like they're probably, I think they're better than these guys, because just necromancy is just really strong anyway. But they lack just a little bit. Somebody else might come along and say, no, Ben, these guys are S tier as well, but I haven't seen it. I've never seen them do that well. Okay. Monkey Maharaja. I love this class. I love it. I love the Raksharaja as well. These are from Lanka and Kailasa or Patala. Kailasa, sorry, like respectively. So from Dominions. I think this guy is I'm going to put him in B tier again. I think he's maybe A tier. So this guy's a little bit like the Baron in the sense that he's got a few free spawn units. So they've got the monkey troops, and monkey troops are really good in this. They're way better than they are in Dominions. You've got the Makata, which are like, you know, these little monkeys. You get 15 of them, just like the Hoboks. But the Makata, they can climb, so they can just immediately climb over walls when you're attacking settlements. So if you've got enough of them, you can send them into battle against, you know, against a tower full of archers, and the Makata will immediately engage the archers, and they'll die in droves, but they'll also kill like loads of archers. And the Makata bowmen they're not very strong. They occasionally do no damage when they hit because they've got such little bows, but they will do a steady chip damage. So if you're fighting something like kobolds, Makata absolutely wreck kobolds. They just kill them so fast. So like these guys can spawn out a lot of units because they're free spawn, but the Makata will kill them really, really quick. So you got those. You've got the Vanara, which are like kind of like a human, but slightly better if I remember. They've usually got a little bit of armor and they've got a shield. You got Atavi, who are again, they're like Vanara, they're slightly human-sized monkeys, but those guys they can ambush, so you can leave them in. Provided they've got stealth while they're in forest. They don't have forest move though, which is annoying. I wish they did. I think if they had forest move, they'd be really good, but they don't. But they you can basically sneak them around in forests, and the enemy can't see them. And they've got their own leaders that are stealthy too. And so you can leave them, like if you get enough of them and you leave them in an ambush, and an enemy walks into them, you'll get an ambush attack on them. So that's really good. You've got the guerrilla type troops, which are the oh god, what are they called now? I forget now, but the biggest apes. Bandar, that's right. So you've got you've got Bandar archers, which are really, really super strong longbow troops, which do very heavy damage. They've got a mace attack as well. Then you've got, or a knife attack, but it's a very heavy knife attack. They've got a club version which does a sweeping attack on frontline troops, and they're really heavily armored. Then they've got like a swords version, which are like the Maharaja's bodyguard. They've got a very, very powerful broadsword attack, so they're just, you only get three at a time, and they're quite heavy in metal. They take a lot of metal, but they are super strong. You get a front line of those, really powerful. Then you get the yogis with an interesting reincarnation mechanic, and then they can summon all these kind of like Indian Vedic themed kind of basically like you got guys that look like the pictures of Vishnu and all the different Indian pantheon, like multi-armed gods and goddesses. You can get some of them, like a lot of them are naked, so they don't do very well against arrows, but they've got ore. And then you can summon really good spellcasters. Yeah, this is a really strong nation. I just think, again, they might lack some of the very, very late game stuff that makes them really powerful. But like the Baron, they've got very, very strong basic units, and that makes them strong in the early game. Once they get going, they are very strong, like with their just basic recruitable units. So you can actually play those guys just as like get some of the mages behind them, and then doing some of their like buffing magic, casting luck and that kind of stuff. And then just use your standard troops and just go ruffle stomp things, just like the Baron can. Or you can go heavily into the summons, and then you can summon these like these kind of Indian themed like angelic creatures. Really, really good fun, super fun. I'm pretty strong. All right, I'm gonna have a drink. Next, we've got Necromancer. So Necromancer is probably S tier, I think. Quite strong from the start. It takes a little bit of time to get going because the Necromancer has this insanity mechanic. These guys, if they raise the dead, it takes all of their action points, usually 3 action points, and but they'll raise a certain amount of dead. But the more dead they raise, the more insane they'll become, and the insanity is permanent. And the number of insanity you've got is the percentage chance that turn, every turn that's rolled, to see if they go insane temporarily, and then they can't move. So you just can't do anything with them. So you don't really want to be doing it with your strongest unit. Eventually you will start getting certain there are certain things that you can do in order to regain sanity. So the level 3 the Grand Necromancer will regain 1 sanity per turn, so you can start to use him to raise the dead a little bit. If you become the leash, you can just raise the dead with impunity, I think. So there's certain goals that you want to move towards, but right from the start of the game, they can either recruit or summon massive amounts of stuff, like just hordes of chaff, which are just great for just sending into the enemy, and just you don't care about it, but you're from behind these waves of undead, you're casting decay, and you'll hit as many of your own troops as you do the enemy, but you just don't care. You can create abominations, which are like corpse eating blobs of massive mounds of corpses. The very, very strong unit. If you've got a couple of those in the early game, you're just going to ruffle stomp anything you come across, really. Unless you come across something with decay. You know, so in one of my games recently, I had an abomination, and I got hit by a Baneblade, and the Baneblade just... It was like a 250 hit point character, you know, monster, and the Baneblade killed it, like right at the end of the battle. Even though this thing regenerates, the decay just killed it. So they're weak against decay or disintegrate, but other than that, they're just really strong. You can get these. You can upgrade your skeletons, your long dead. You can put them in suits of armor, or you can give them Banefire bows. Banefire bows are really strong. So you got these archers that use Banefire, which cause decay. So it's just like insta kill. Not insta kill, but you know, providing they've not got massive amounts of regeneration, or they're an unliving unit. Basically, anything you hit with that is just going to die. So you know, even if they win the battle, they'll usually die at the end. So Banefire, like this, they're quite easy to get. They cost like 10 Hands of Glory, or 20 maybe, might be 10, and then you get like 5 of those. So if you've got like a whole bunch of chaff, skeleton, you know, long dead and soulless, a load of Banefire archers behind, and a load of, you know, the sort of summonable disease casting, you know, decay casting mages as well, you're starting to see why this is really, really powerful. There's not much that can stand against the Necromancer. Yeah, the Necromancer is super powerful. And then it's just got loads of content. The Necromancer as well, just like the Demonologist has got a fighting chance of going down to Inferno and taking it on. You've got a fighting chance of being able to take over Hades. Like, I've done quite well in Hades, going down there. And, you know, Hades is full of money. So if you go down there and just, you've got units, you know, if you've got a way for your Necromancer to survive down there, including some of the rituals that let him come in and out, you can go down Hades, take loads of, you know, towns down there, just get a massive economy. So yeah, he's S tier. I think he'd be A tier if it wasn't for the Hades thing, because I think the fact that he's quite slow and the insanity mechanic makes him a little bit weak at the start. But with the fact that you can go to Hades and just conquer it, you know, it's just S tier material. All right, coming near to the end, we've got the Pale One. This was another one I think that was considered to be kind of like crappy in Conquest of Elysium 4, but I think it's a lot better now. I struggled to get him going, but I think if you know what you're doing with him, he's actually really quite strong. So I'm going to put him in A tier. Again, seems to lack some of the very, very powerful endgame summons, but I might be wrong there. This is one of those where I've never quite seen all the endgame content. But being able to start in Agartha is good. You get burrowing units, so you can go right through Agartha and get all the riches in there, all the gems. It's a gem focused economy. There's different types of spellcasters. You can summon dead. This is kind of based on Agartha from Dominion. So you know, you've got like the Oracle of the Dead. You've got the Oracles of the of water. So you can get water themed units. They can also, like, most of them can swim. So you can actually swim out to a lot of the islands and go and get the underwater pearls. So they've got a really good economy because they can, apart from these guys, they're pretty much the only one that can go in the water. So you've got, yeah, you can go to Agartha, you can go into the water, you can get down into the elemental plane through the water. You can get into Void if you want. I don't know why you'd want to, but you can go down there, like through the water. Yeah, they've got good buffing magic. You know, like they can cast strength on their own troops. Their base troops do miss because they're Cyclopean. They've only got one eye, so every troop has got a 10% chance to miss. But they're better. They're actually quite strong, so they do a lot of damage when they hit. You can summon these, you know, ancient pale ones, which are just big armored troops, very, very big, powerful. So you can end up with like really, really strong units, like on your front line with a load of kind of crappy slingers behind. They've got some good summonable units. They've got the Sacred Arms, which is slow, but they've got this mind attack. Yeah, just like in Agartha and Dominions, basically. If you played that game, it's very good. I think I struggled to get them going. Maybe not A, maybe they're B. I think they are a lot better now than they were. I think the fact that they can get into the water and they've got Agartha makes them go from C to B. Yeah, so I think they're like a B tier now. They are really good fun. Like, this is one, if you like to hide and then pop up and attack people, you know, so like you want to go and conquer Agartha before you even come up to Elysium. If you got like burrowing units, you can really kind of play around in there. You can get earth elementals as well, and things like, you know, the elemental royalty. So you can get like the Knight of Earth, you know, that the King of Earth, whatever he's called, King of Elemental Earth. He can just like move straight through down into the Elemental Plane or through Agartha. You can go to Hades. You can just go through the planes basically. So you can plane explore with these guys too. They've got a thing where you can kind of flood Agartha. Yeah, really fun. Really fun thematic. Loads better than they were in Conquest Elysium 4. They were crap. In Conquest Elysium 5, they've really buffed them up. Okay. The Priest King is another one that I've not really played a huge amount, but I know what he does. I think he's probably B or A. So he's got the Priest King has free spawn units in the sense that your tribal kings. He's like Aztec, you know, like the Aztec tribes. They've got really bad troops in the sense of they've got no armor. You know, they've got quite primitive weapons, but they can get these slightly better units like the Jaguar warriors and stuff that are better. They've got some interesting summons, so you can just like Mictlan in Dominions. You can summon Jaguars. They can summon the flying Jaguar demons, the Ocelotls. Very strong in this as well, just like they are in Dominions. They can get these massive Jaguar monsters called the Balam. They're like a higher tier summon. It's this huge like Jaguar. I think they might regenerate. I'm not certain about the regeneration, but they are super strong. They got a load of attacks, tons of hit points, absolute terror. You can capture slaves in towns, so you can get your tribal kings to just capture loads of slaves. So usually this guy's army is a bunch of crappy slaves on the front with a load of flying Jaguar beasts and bat monsters and frogmen and then there's different. You've got the different types of tribal, the tribal kings. Is that right? Yeah. You get like you get the one that's dedicated to the sun worship. You got the water, the rain god one, and they all have access to different spells. So they got just like the Kobold King, the Baron. They've got access to quite a lot of different schools of magic, different kind of fields of magic. And then they can summon in these kind of gods, and each one of them can summon a different god. Now, they might be better than I'm thinking, but again, they do quite well as the AI, but I don't know. I've never really finished a campaign with them, I don't think. I really want to play this one next, actually, because I really want to get deeper into it. But for the time being, I'm going to say B. I think they're a little weak in the early game. They're definitely no way as strong as these, and is it as strong as this guy? Maybe we're on the same kind of level as the Monkey Maharaja. I don't know. Maybe he's an A. The Ocelotls are really good. Their summoned units are good, and they've got some good spells too. The blood magic's pretty good. So yeah, maybe they're up there, somewhere B or A, something like this. I need to play them more. I think what I'll do is when I've played some of these, I might rearrange this list. When I've played them more, I should say. Okay, Raksharaja. I think Raksharaja is actually a little bit weaker than Monkey Maharaja. They've got a really cool new mechanic where they've got this Maya illusion kind of thing where Maya is the world of illusions, and so you can summon these demon ogres like you can in Lanka as in Dominions. They use sacrifices, I think. Yeah, they use sacrifices, but they don't have the same mechanic where these guys do. You just pay a certain amount, and you get then you summon in the Raksharaja, the Rakshasa. They've got different types of Rakshasa depending on which spell you cast. You can summon Rakshasi. The Rakshasi can bring in more Rakshasas, or the Lankan demons like the Palankasha. The ape-headed one. There's all these different types of demons that you can get basically, and some of the leaders can actually veil them with this Maya magic, so they just look like Makata. They look like Atavi or Makata. So you just get these you've got to be careful with if you've not identified them in the game, because you might see what you think is a bunch of crappy monkey troops. Like you think you're playing against Monkey Maharaja, and you jump into attack, and then all of a sudden this guy appears because he's invisible. He appears, and you're actually fighting a load of Palankasha, and these terrifying tiger-headed monsters instead of like a bunch of Makata and like Vanara. So yeah, he's got some nasty tricks up his sleeve. They can summon in some all of the Lankan demons, like the what are they called? You've got the one that eats that wants to eat the sun. I forget what his name is now. Mandala. Oh no, not Mandala. Mandala's a kind of spiritual pattern. A Mandahar. That's it. You can summon Mandahars, which is this massive, kind of winged ape demon, even more strong than this guy. They can cast loads of spells. Yeah, these are great fun. I feel like they don't always do that well when you're playing against them as the AI, and I feel like they have got all the monkey troops though. Yeah, maybe I'll put them up here. I think I just don't know how to use them very well yet. I'm going to say the same about the Scourgelord. I think they're probably A tier. They just have a little. They definitely don't have overwhelming power like these guys, like all of these lot do. But I think that the summons that they get, just like with the Monkey Maharaja, are very, very strong. So you can end up with like some really, really powerful summoned units. I just think that they lack, that overwhelming power that these ones have got. This guy might be up here too, but I'm not quite so sure. Yeah, I'm just looking at these now, and I'm thinking I've got these probably about right. Kobold King might be there. I do like Kobold King, but it's just, again, I don't do very well with it. Okay, we're going to come to the last of the new ones that were added with the new classes that were added with Conquest Elysium 5. Scourgelord, I'm going to put in C, I think. Now, that might raise a few eyebrows. I think that Scourgelord is C, and the reason is because he kind of, in order to get stronger, you've got to kind of desertify your own, like all your own economy. So you put these pyramids of power up, these monoliths and the pyramids, and they gradually they suck all the life out of everything. It's such a cool mechanic. It's based on the Dark Sun campaign from D&D or AD&D, but way back in the day. And so I know that because I spoke because Ewan and Christopher told me. But yeah, so it's kind of like an Arabian theme thing. They've got these camel riders. Also. They summon kind of like things like these ants. So it's all sort of stuff that's kind of themed around corruption. We've got these corruption spells. They can desiccate people, like, drain their energy to make them weaker. So, their spell set is a little bit... I don't think their spells are very strong. And, they summon these kind of like giant ants. So you get these, the fire ants and all those kind of things. You can summon stuff like that. Spiders. You've kind of seen spiders before with things like... I think the Druid can get spiders, or is it a Dryad Queen? I've got one of these is a spider summoner as well. They kind of get, I don't know, I just feel like I want more from it. And I think this is the one that needs the most work out of all the new ones. Because, yeah, the summons are a little bit underwhelming. However, there's another way to play them, like many of these classes. And you can recruit these, what are they called? I think you actually summon them, so you can summon these extra commanders. And they're like, you can only ever have one Scourgelord. Yeah, that's right. You can only ever have one Scourgelord, I think. You'll only ever suffer there to be one. You can have like a load of baby Scourgelords. And this baby Scourgelords, they're like his kind of like subordinates. They actually are kind of sacred in a sense. So you can do a ritual which gives them bonuses, right? So all of your Scourgelords, like, I can't remember what they're called now, but these summonable units, you can really pump them out. They're kind of expensive. You get one of them basically, and you're paying for one of them what you'd probably pay for like a bunch of swordsmen. But they have this they have this blessing system, so they get more hit points, progressively more strong. They get progressively better resistances. And more magic resistance. You can actually turn them into super soldiers. So that's another way to play this guy. And they've all got magic as well. So they're all magic users that become very, very powerful warriors individually. So they've got a really unique way of playing where you don't just have to play with these kind of weakish summons that they get. You can also have like small armies full of like 5 or 6 of these guys that are all buffed to the nines. So very, very interesting. I just think it's a little weak. I don't think it's as bad. I don't think it's D tier. Yeah, what? I don't even know if... I might put this guy down here too, because I really don't think he's that strong. And Dwarf Queen... Yeah, I think Dwarf Queen deserves to be in D as well. Like now I've taken my rage hat off, talking about Dwarf Queen, and try to be a little bit more objective. I do think that she's actually quite weak. Mind you, like she's weak in the sense of like you're unlikely to finish a campaign because she's just so boring. You know, like you take a mountain hold, then you fill it up with ballistas and, you know, dwarves. Yeah, I think she's kind of weak. I want to see he's kind of weak too. Yeah, I might have to rearrange a few of these. I don't know, this guy's kind of somewhere between here too. I don't remember the animals being very good. I remember the Dryad being a lot better than him. But anyway, back to Scourgelord. Scourgelord's really fun to use. I'm definitely going to play a campaign with him soon. The issue is that, yeah, just I think he needs better magic. I think he needs some better summons at the end. I don't really remember what the highest tier summons were now, to be honest, but I don't remember them being that strong. But you know, maybe I'm undervaluing it, but I think he's probably C. Next one is Senator. Senator. Senator's like B, I think. Or is it A? Senator's got, like the Baron, it's got very, very good. It's got Roman troops, so you've got like the Roman style troops with the Veletates, you know, throwing javelins, and then you've got the front line, Astartes, is it? Principes. You've got with the older guys with the long spears. So you've got pikemen, you know, like but they're slow. They've got better armor, but they've got the slow traits, so they're kind of annoying to use. But you know, they're very good for defense. By the way, when I say slow is annoying to use, it's super cool mechanic, because often you've got very heavy units that are like that, like the heavy infantry. So it is a really cool mechanic. I just think that sometimes when you're stuck with slow, like the Hoboks, it can be a bit of a ball ache. But he gets access to more. Before the Baron got buffed, he was basically like what the Baron is now. You got access to more mages. So if you get a magic library, you kind of get more mages, and you get different types. You get kind of astrologers and, you know, all these different types of kind of generic mages, and they are really good. And then if you can take the city, you know, the center in Empire, you can upgrade him, and he becomes, I can't remember what he's called now, but he basically levels himself up, and then you become like a god king, and then that is when he becomes really powerful. So if you're playing on Empire, he's probably like, he might be S tier. Because once he gets once he takes over that central city and casts his ritual, boy does he become powerful, and you can do some mad stuff with him then. So I think if you're playing him on that particular, if you're playing him on Empire Society, he is S tier probably, or A tier. But I think generally he's probably B or A. I think I want to say B, because I feel that. Like unless you can get him leveled up himself to that like highest level on Empire, and you have to be playing on Empire to get that, I think he lacks some endgame bite, just like the Baron. But the Baron's kind of stronger because he's just got better troops. But the Roman troops are very good. They are very, very good, and you get some cool magic users. You know, some thematic magic users. He's got some cool rituals as well. All right. I'm going to have to end this soon because my throat is dying, and I've got a podcast to record for Explorminate, so I'm going to get through the last four relatively quick. Troll King is very, very strong in the early game, providing you keep him away from, I'm going to say B. I think Troll King's quite good. So in a nutshell, Troll King is a super combatant. He's a regenerating giant. He's very, very strong. He can just walk through most of the early encounters unless he comes against, you know, anything that can cast charm or fear. Like if he gets hit with a fear spell, because he's got low magic resistance, he's going to run, and that's it, game over. So he's very, like, if you know how to use him, he's mega strong. But if you get ambushed by something that's got any kind of spell, you know, any kind of spell that kind of does an insta kill, like, you know, charm or confusion or sleep. Sleep's not so bad because, you know, he regenerates really fast. So if you get hit, you know, when you're asleep, you'll just wake up. But charm, he's susceptible to charm and fear. Fear particularly will just make him run away, and that's it, game over. Later on, Mum turns up. Mumsy. Mum is the mother troll. It's like an ancient female troll hag. She's got some good spells. Once she turns up, you can start taking over forests and getting fungus. You can automatically get goblins. These guys have goblins as their, you know, subordinates. They're very much like the Bakemono. They're basically like Bakemono. And Gobos are really good in this game. They're stealthy. They can hide in woods and ambush. You know, they're kind of crap chaffy units, but the troll, you know, Mum's got some quite good spells. And you know, once Mum turns up, it opens up a whole new game, because you got some sort of stuff from Asphodel as well, if you're familiar with Dominions, where you got Carrion Corpse. So these are, you know, kind of corpses of dead animals are reanimated with vines inside forests, and then so you get kind of free spawn units, and I don't know if they're stupid and they just move around or whether you can control them. I don't really remember, but yeah, so they're a fungus nation, just like the witch and the you know, the Dryad Queen and Druid, etc. So yeah, Troll King's good. It's another one that I've finished a few games with, but I never really saw the content. It's very fun to use, but I think B tier is about right, maybe C tier. I think that he never seems to do very well as the AI. Usually he's often he either kills like the other AIs quick, or he just dies himself really quickly. So yeah, maybe I'll put him in C tier. Yeah, I don't remember thinking it was like overwhelmingly powerful. The fact that he himself is very strong is good. By the way, if you are, like I say, if you're one of the factions that've got any kind of charm spell, like Confusion that can potentially charm, or, you know, actually a charm spell, if you go for the Troll King and get him on your side at the start of the game, he's a very powerful. Like, you kit him out with some magic items, and man, he's just like so hard to kill. Just got to get his magic resistance up. So yeah, you know, I'm going to call him B, because he can dominate the early game if you know how to use him, and and in the late game you've got 2 super combatants, because Mum's also a super combatant, and then yeah, she's a spellcasting super combatant, so she's even better. But yeah, I think that, yeah, I'm going to put him in B. Voice of L, another example of Illwinter's genius game design. It's just got its own really interesting mechanics. Whether it's strong or not, I don't know. Okay, so what happened? This guy is a priest. He gets tithe. As you take villages, you'll get tithes from them. So even if you lose the villages later, you'll still get money, because they've been converted to the religion. He's got this mad mechanic where you're trying to break the seals from heaven in order to. So you've got the angelic realm basically, which most people can't get at, and then you break these seals using these rituals. And then each time you do it, it unleashes, not only unleashes kind of terrifying things on the world, but also you get, like, you start to unveil Armageddon. And I mean Armageddon in the literal sense, so this final war between good and evil. So what will happen is these demons will turn up, these kind of like, you know, literally the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse will turn up one by one. But you then get loads of angels that come down to try and fight them. So you get these kind of stupid free spawn units, and I mean stupid in the Conquest of Elysium sense, in that you cannot control them; they move around on their own. But they are really powerful. But there's a temptation to keep breaking all the seals. Once you break the 7th seal, it really does begin at Armageddon, and it's very hard to win then. Like, you can lose at that point. But if you break the 7th seal when you're doing well, all of the other players have got to fight these angels and demons that just pop out of nowhere, and you just dominate the game, because you just, you know, all of a sudden the game becomes about you. You become the end game threat. So this is a character class that basically unleashes an end game crisis on everybody. And if you, I've broke the 7th seal and won with him. It's possible. Like, you know, if you do it at the right time, and you know you've got enough strong angelic forces, and you've managed to kill a few of the, you know, the horsemen that are wandering around, which are horribly strong, then actually you can win. Even by breaking all the seals, you can win Armageddon. So, how strong is it? He's pretty weak, I gotta tell you. But, you know, if you play the seals games right, I think, yeah. It's really hard for me to place this guy. I mean, if you break the 7th seal, you might lose yourself, but you are S tier, because like, you are just, all of a sudden all these angels are pouring through the you know, the gates of heaven, and all the demons are pouring out. Everything comes out of Inferno. You just get this horrendous massive war that you're only a kind of passive observer in. So yeah, difficult to place. I think the spells that they get are quite good. They get these kind of flagellant units, like they get free spawn units as well from the settlements that you take. I mean, if it wasn't for the breaking the seals, they'd be like down here. They are probably one of the weaker factions, but the fact is that they've got all these automated free spawn units when you just start breaking the seals. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll put it in B. I think that if you're an experienced player, they're probably like here. But if you're... And they're good for beginners because you get a lot of free spawn units. So, you know, all you have to do is kind of keep a few armies alive and take some cities and you're going to get a decent economy. Okay, I've got to wrap things up. So I'm going to put them there. I don't know. I think if I had a fourth category or a sixth category, which is don't know, I'd probably put that one there. But I'm going to say B because they're weak until you break the seals. And then when you break the seals, you still don't have control over most of the stuff that comes through. But then everyone else has got a real problem on their hands. Warlock. I think Warlock... I'm going to put it in A tier. I think that they bordering on S tier. They've got 4 different... For each of the elements, you've got a different Warlock. You know, water, air, fire, and earth. They're all able to summon more spellcasting units of that particular element. They've got lots and lots of spells. They can summon all sorts of different units. They can survive in the elemental plane because they've got like each one's got a resistance to the elements. They can hang out in Agartha. They can probably hang out in Inferno. The Hades they're not going to do so well in, but like they've got like they've got the planes covered. They start out quite weak. That's probably why I might put them in A because they're quite hard to get going. You got to really nurture them. Once you've got a few warlocks, man, boy, they are powerful. Let me tell you. Yeah. I think I'm going to put them in S tier because while they don't have any absolutely broken stuff like these guys all do, I don't think he's got anything truly broken. He's just very, very good. Like he doesn't really have many weaknesses. I think he's kind of the same. Once you get past the early game, if you can get past the early game, then in the hands of a good player, the Warlock is very, very powerful. You've got a spell for every occasion. You can go into several of the different planes. They can basically fight anything. They've got some of the best battlefield wipe spells. Like if you've got fireproof troops, you can just nuke the entire map with fire. And if if the enemy haven't got any fire resistance, it's game over for them. The same with the earth. The earth magic. You can just make your troops so difficult to kill. They're just almost impossible. They're just boosting armor. Water stuff, you can go to the water, so you can get swimming units. Yeah, I'm going to put it in S tier. It's also one of the most fun factions to play. If you want to go planes exploring, or you just want to be you don't mind being weak at the start of the game and exchanging that for superpower. Yeah, go for it. I think Warlock, yeah, it lacks like some of the just mad stuff that these guys can do. Like, I mean, summoning old ones. Sorry, it's the witch that has the old one, but like, yeah, some of the stuff that the high cultists can do, just because they're just so strong right through the game, and they just get stronger and stronger as they go. Same with this guy, really, and he's just super strong. I think he's probably a little bit less strong than those guys, but he's somewhere between A and C and S. But I'm going to put him in S just because he's super fun to play. This is, if you've not really got used to the game yet, and you really want to get into the game and you want to learn how deep Conquest of Elysium is with all the different magic systems and all the different summons, you wouldn't go far wrong playing Warlock. Okay, last one is Witch. Witch I'm a little bit less familiar with. This is one of the oldest classes in the game. I think this one's been in right from the start. Witch has got really good magic. She's a fungus-based economy, which is really strong because you just want forests and swamps. She can turn farms into swamps. So if you're playing a multiplayer game, here's a good combo. Enchanter and Witch are very strong together because she can turn all the crappy farms into swamps, and then he can turn swamps into mud golems, which are regenerating horrors. Basically, they're like these absolutely disgustingly strong golems with loads of hit points, and they regenerate. They're dead hard to kill, whereas all of his other stuff doesn't heal. They do. And he can create them from a swamp with 50. He just needs 50 gold and 50 metal and three action points, or 4 action points it might be. And the Witch, so those two together, very, very strong. She can summon old ones, which is like this giant Vim, you know, a big dragon basically. She can summon dragons. She can summon lots of things like lots of poison creating creatures. She's got lots of poison based magic. So you got lots of hopping, these big toads hopping around. You can, yeah, like loads of these kind of swamp beasts, lots of slimy, swampy kind of icky stuff, you know. And then when she can turn her into a hag, and the hag is like the level 3, and the hag has some very, very powerful spells like mass charm spells, if I remember right. Certainly mass sleep spells. She's got spells like the Illusionist basically. So I think she's A tier. I don't remember her being. I think the late summons that she's got are not quite as good as, you know, like for example the Necromancers or the Warlocks or the Demonologist or this guy, the High Cultist. But they are good. She's just strong all the way through. So I think she's a solid A tier. Okay, guys, that was a bit longer than I was hoping, but that was my Conquest of Elysium power tier list. I think I'm willing to change some of these because I don't, like I say, there's probably about a third of them that I don't know as well as I'd like. I'll point out the ones that I'm really, really unfamiliar. Like, I really think that I need to learn more. Probably Dwarf Queen, I need to learn a bit better, but, you know, I don't find it that fun to play. I certainly hate playing against her. The Barbarian didn't seem that strong to me, but I want to play it a bit more. Cloudlord, I find a bit weak. Druid's cool. Kobold King's really cool. I think this guy's really cool, but I think these are all a little bit weak. But yeah, this guy I want to play more. I need to learn him better. I think I need to learn Cloudlord better. This guy I need to play more. Senator I need to play a little bit more, I think, just to kind of really get my head around that thing. But I think, like I say, he's if you're playing outside of the society he's geared towards, he's no way as good. I think, you know, like I said with the Baron, if you're playing him on Monarchy, and that's the society he's geared towards, he is going to be S tier without a doubt. Because when he gets that highest level, when he becomes a king or whatever, he gets even more stuff. He's borderline overpowered at the moment as it is. But I think on, you know, when he's got access, just like this guy, to his society upgrade, then yeah, he's S tier without a doubt. So Margraf I need to play a little bit more. Raksharaja, I haven't seen all the end game stuff, but I kind of know what it does from reading the you know, like looking at what it summons. I know what the unit's doing in Dominions. I've got a fair understanding of what they're going to do. Yeah, so it's just those really that and which I could probably do with playing a little bit more, and maybe this one. But other than that, I'm fairly confident that this is about right. Remember, Conquest of Elysium is supposed to be fun, and it's not just about power. It's about how fun they are to play and the adventures that you can go on. And I might do another tier list that might just be how fun they are to play. And spoiler alert, I think Dval is still down here. Do you know what? I'd recorded this just before I recorded this. I was playing with this guy and trying to get somewhere, and I just had the worst experience with the dwarves. I always hate playing them. I find them so frustrating. But other than that little blip on Conquest of Elysium, I don't know what can be done to that. Just make it so that they can't spawn quite as many dwarves, because I just think it's so frustrating. But other than that, this is just my favourite game. I absolutely love it, and I think that if you pick any one of these guys, you're going to have fun with them. You know, and maybe you are really, really strong with Scourgelord, you know. Maybe you're really, really good with Barbarians. You know, the Barbarian guy. So I want to know what you think about this, guys. I want to hear about it in the comments. Let me know. Do you think I got this right? Or do you think I'm just talking absolute garbage? Do you love the Dwarf Queen? And are you absolutely triggered and offended by how, you know, awful I've been talking about your favourite character? Or, you know, do you also think that they're just complete trash and you hate them? if you feel like they're a cancer on Conquest of Elysium's otherwise spotless record, you know, do you think there's some of these that just are missing stuff and you think they're more powerful? Let's get a bit of a discussion going and we'll talk about it. Thanks for listening, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments and I'll catch you later. Take it easy.